Thanks, everyone. What did you capture in the Telstra presentation? So one thing I captured is I learned which company, the stock that I should purchase in the US market. That's very well benchmarked. So that the customer experience score tells a lot of things where to invest. All right, let's get back to this sharing session on transformation towards a customer experience journey. I'm with Huawei Global Technical Services, and I've been leading quite a few consulting projects related to customer experience transformation. So in the next 20 minutes, I'll share some of those experiences. The topic is structured on two sides. One is why CEM requires a total transformation. And Telstra shared with us some of the insider practice. Next, I will share how do we see operators are going through that transformation. Right. The second topic is more about a deeper dive of what are the things to achieve that customer experience return on investment. So where does that value come from? A quick snapshot on the service providers' environment and the challenges. This comes from two perspectives. One is your peer competition. The end users are becoming more mature and they are facing a lot more choices than before. So a lot of people talk about reducing the churn rate. That's quite a negative word. So if I were the CN advocate, I would say we would need to improve the contract renewal rate. All right, so that's one of the goal. And the second challenges come from the cross-sector competition, and the OTT players are snapping a piece of the pie in the telco industry. They are quite agile, they move quite fast. They're experimenting a lot of new business models. So many service providers realize that competing on the applications may not be the number one choice. Maintain the subscriber stickiness, serve as the last mile, the close touch with the subscribers is the competitive advantage. So taking a few examples, on May 21st, AT&T come onto the news. AT&T structured a new Ad Vision offering to all the retailers or merchants, whereby you could identify your target customer through the help of service provider, just by giving a few keywords. For example, if you are selling the pet food, by putting in the word pet lovers, you're given a few selections. You could reach out to 10,000 subscribers, you could reach out to 20,000 subscribers, and you could reach out to 50,000 subscribers. And each of these packages come with different price tag, and the privacy of the end user was or is protected. So that the last touch, the close understanding of the end user is where operators are finding the competitive advantage against the cross-sector competition. So how does a happy customer affect the profitability? And I've been asked the questions by quite many analysts as well. So this question is really straightforward. Where does the return come from if the operators invest in this? And whether there's a mature business case for investing in customer experience management. So I'm glad to say that after a few years of collective effort of the whole telco sector and the vendor community, many of these business returns are today proven, such as reducing the cost of acquisition, the reduce the support costs for the happy customers. And in the previous session, Telstra also shared examples that the happy customer tend to hold more product, more of your value-added services, as well as spend more than the butterfliers. All right. So the business case has been proven by the pioneering operators in this practice. So having said that, Asia-Pacific market is quite a diversified playground. We have the pioneering practitioners of CEM in some advanced market. At the same time, we also see that there are a lot of service providers in the emerging markets trying to catch up, testing the water, experimenting what are the best approach to move forward. And in that journey, there seems to be the gaps between the customer's views of service quality and the service provider view. So in general, on the left-hand side, what you see, the end user as a customer are concerned about what he gets. It's an outside-in view. However, when you look at from the inside, you got a lot of business metrics. And these metrics, taking a few examples of the call center is managing the number of calls or average waiting time, service upsells, this rate. There's nothing wrong with these metrics. However, they simply measure the efficiency from an inside-out approach. When you look at the operations, time to repair, time to installation, network uptime, service performance, these metrics are also measuring the organization, the network operation organization's efficiency. There's very little representation of customer outside-in view. And allow me to draw some extracts from Harvard Business Review on the understanding customer experience and the difference between CEM and CRM. So CRM or SQN represent what companies think of its customer, and CEN represents what the customers think of the company. So following these two different perspective view, we see the difference at the point of measurement. So the next point is actually when. At the point of customer interaction at all the touch points, and from the inside out perspective, there are a lot of business metrics measuring the internal processes. All right. Now, how to measure this two, how to marry these two perspectives? In my personal experience, it really requires a total transformation. It requires total transformation. Today, there are a lot of metrics on the bottom related to different business units. There are various metrics. However, from the customer's point of view, that view is quite different. Let me give you a personal example. I'm a corporate user of a local service provider in Singapore. And about 18 months ago, I traveled to the neighboring country, Malaysia, for a weekend. And when I came back, my hotel bill and all this bill added up to around 400 Singapore dollar. But the roaming bill went up to almost 1,000. Okay, so one might ask, why did I use the discounted roaming package, which is much lesser? So I spent 3 days there. 1,000 Singapore dollar is a huge amount, right? So there has been a solution that you can subscribe to the discounted data roaming. What happened is, yes, I tried. However, when I called the customer service center, I was told I'm under the corporate services account. So I should call another hotline, and that hotline for corporate customers don't work on weekends, all right? So when you think about these simple things, so later the next week, I talked to the corporate service line. So they explained to me the various reasons of not having that facility available. So they explained another reason, saying, because when there's a contract between the service provider with the enterprise customer, there are contract clauses that say the certain permission to use the roaming data or changes of service is subject to the approval by the enterprise focal point. Now, you think about this simple issue. It touches upon the policy settings, the contract management. When they design a contract, have they had the customers in mind? And who is paying the bill? By the way, even though I'm under a corporate account, actually I'm paying the bill by myself, right? So then there's the hotline services, there's the customer care. Each of them are doing, I would say, a very friendly, they are having a very friendly approach towards my problem. But it took more than 15 months for the operator to change this. I'm glad to say that that has been changed. Eventually, this service provider has moved all the customer service for corporate customers to enable that discounted data roaming to the normal customer hotline. Okay? It took them 15 months. Because my interest in the customer experience management, I've been actively following what's going on with that issue. So it's much easier to say than to get the things done because it cuts across multiple organizations. So where is the gap? So we think that CEM requires a total transformation. It requires total transformation. So next I will share a few key elements in that transformation journey. And the very first element I would highlight is the senior sponsorship with a clear vision, strategy, and governance. So I've been involved in many European projects, and they are a little advanced than Asia-Pacific operators in terms of the starting date. However, many of those started with a fragmented approach. The customer takes his own initiative, marketing takes some initiative, and the time to get to the result was quite long. And this applied to quite many European big groups. And I do hope that in APAC market, with our culture, a top-down culture, and with our management practice, a top-down approach could bring the Asia operators on a fast track. So if there's a clear vision, strategy, governance, and all the functional departments move together, I believe that fast track is possible. All right. The next key element is establish the customer strategy or setting the goals. And a strategy is a much overused word. If I need to change one word, I would say incorporate customer experience as one of the guiding principles in all the product and services design. So taking the earlier example, when the product for enterprise customers were designed, and the customer experience has to be taken account into that contract development, into that the support practice. So the guiding principle is the starting point to foster a healthy customer experience. Then the next element will follow, what do we want to be seen by the customers? So there are elements such as trustworthy. I know a lot of service providers are trying to get the mobile wallet business, but are we trustworthy as the banks? And see the providers as offering the right level of service, see the value in the product, being loyal and forgiving when needed. So these are the goals and potential area of differentiation from the peer competition or from the internet. So all this coming from the root of putting the customer experience as one of your corporate strategy and guiding principles. So I would share a design experience by Virgin Mobile. In practice, the customer experience doesn't come from an inside-out approach by working on my offering, by working on my billing package. Superior customer experience comes from designing that experience. by saying designing that experience, you start with looking at your customer segments, or relook at your segment and remap out all the customer journey. So a journey defines the limited motivation that why these customers want to contact you. That includes upgrading a line or getting a new line or getting things fixed. So I'll elaborate more on the types of customer journey. And in many journalist discussions, we hear, okay, we'll relook at the processes. Process, again, is an inside out word. So customer journey is how the customers interact with your organization with a motivation. So starting from the customer journey on the upper side of the corridor, then you drive back to all the process review. And the next element is when you implement this internal process changes, chances are that you will encounter a lot of resistance or the habits. So you slip into the same old practice. And how would that change? The key to change the people mindset is to adjust the balance scorecard and the management metrics. So I would like to share a consulting engagement with Shanghai unicorn last year. And basically, the CMO invited the CTO to relook at all the management metrics, which ties with the bonus. When we step in, what we saw is that the CTO organization's bonus are largely tied with network metrics. As a matter of fact, 89% are network metrics. Another 11% are associated with the project rollout. How fast am I rolling out the network? There's zero customer experience in that organization. And what we did is we added the product-related metrics. We added the customer-related experience by employing the SLA and OLA breakdown, the methodologies. So this helps to drive the organization mindset changes. And the phase 2 project is actually about redesigning the NOC, the Network Operations Center dashboard. All right, so that's continuing. We talked about the customer journey a little bit as an outside-in perspective. In practice, when you go through the customer journey, you will have limited variations, about 10 to 20, somewhere between that. Each of the customer journey will go through multiple different touch points. So in one of the projects, we actually map out over 100 touch points, the variations. And then we pick the critical journeys and the critical touch point by applying the 2080 rule. Then we establish the performance metrics. So to relate that back to the customer experience, what area that we need to improve, right? And last year, I introduced this ideal management model inside the Huawei and with the field operator harness. So traditionally, what usually happens is you have the functional entities looking at the customer life cycle. Each of them thinks about, okay, this is my contribution to the customers. But what's more important is the vertical arrow here. That are driving force. Sometimes your chief customer office organization need to drive this cross-functional organization collaboration. So at last, there's a quick case study. So when I travel around Asia Pacific, the challenging part is actually about 20% of operators are losing money. So that's the stark fact. That's the stark fact. On the other side, the positive side, we see shining stars, embracing customer experience. So PCCW is operating in a very competitive market. There are 6 operators in a tiny island. And it went through this maturity journey in a customer experience and adjusted the processes to better serve their customers. So this the reactive half on the real time. And the VIP issues are solved before they call in. So there's also the repeating path to address those repetitive complaints. So this is one example of looking at the customer-facing interaction processes. Involving assistance. In this system, there's the service level quality management, the traffic monitoring, active testing, real-time VIP care, which with 1 minute refresh rate of whoever VIP had a service failure issue and proactively solve those issues. Monitoring the customer complaint. In fact, in the service operations center, the number of customer calls to the first line is one of the metrics for them as well. So the NOC has the incentive to fix the problem before the call arrives. All right. And finally, here's the result. And in fact, the PCCW acquired this network. It was one of the worst quality in Hong Kong at that moment. Over the years, by embracing the customer experience practice, they were able to outperform the market. And the market growth was about 190% over this period. The PCCW growth was 220%. And here is the lovely part, the stock price. And the PCCW stock price actually doubled in the last 2 years in a highly competitive market with peer competition and OTT competition. All right. So as a concluding note, at Huawei, we are supporting the service providers' transformation to become a customer-centric business. We're engaged in some of these total CEM transformation projects through our managed services engagement. We're providing the business consulting as well as the technical consulting. Just to add one more word on that, a lot of the modeling require knowledge, the domain knowledge, and that's a gap left by the earlier SQN or IT side of the vendors. And this systems appears to be a blank Excel. And we are helping a lot of operators to build up the use cases above this Excel function. All right. And as Huawei is a technology supplier, we also supply a lot of solutions to enhance the customer experience in terms of the service quality management, customer experience assurance, and the BSS OSS solutions, and the mobile agent on the phone, which serve as one more touch point for the operators to interact with the subscribers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much.
Okay.